Hello, happy Sunday. It's been a little while since I posted, so welcome back. Today I want to show you how to do the Shisha mirror embroidery, which I really do love to add to my quilts. It adds just a little bit of sparkle, and it's really simple to do. These mirrors can be found even at the craft stores in little packages, and you can see here I've got one that's already done in a smaller size, and then this one is a little bigger. You can also find round ones that are worked very similar to the way that I'm going to show you. So what I have here is just a little quilted sample so that I can show you how it works on something like that, because that's typically where I would embroider these, as on obviously something that's already been quilted, so that you don't have to work around these mirrors as you do the quilting. So if you've been watching my videos and you know about my quilt as inspired technique, it's usually that I quilt the piece first and then add all the fun blingy stuff after it's been quilted. So real quick, I just want to show you how to stitch these on. I've glued this onto the background with probably something like Roxanne's Glue Based It, or you could use, you could even use E6000. We're going to stitch it on, so you could even use water-soluble glue. It doesn't really matter. Most of the time you'll be doing something like this on a wall quilt, so it's not like it's going to go through the washer or anything. But these could certainly be hand-washed. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is, once your glue is dry, you're just going to come up, and since it's quilted and we don't want the threads to show on the back, you're going to do the base stitching so that you can hold the mirror in place while you work around it. So just come up real close to the mirror and about 1/8 of an inch away from the corner. Okay, I've got my little knot tied there so it stops. Okay, you see that? Okay, and then you're going to go right in directly across from and come up 1/8 of an inch from its cornered edge here. And notice I am not going through the back of the fabric at all. I'm just working through the batting. Okay, and then directly across. And of course, you're going to get a million fingerprints on your mirror, but it doesn't really matter. You can wipe that off later, so don't worry about that. It's going to look messy while you're doing it. All right, and you're going to work all the way around. Probably hit some glue there. Just making a little grid, because these little lines are what you're going to use to stitch your mirror in place, so that there will be no raw, sharp edges of this mirror showing. Alright, now that I'm all the way back around, what we're going to do is we're going to do it again, because we want that base to be really strong. Okay, so just kind of to the outside, I guess, is what I do, or the inside. It doesn't matter. Whichever one your thread falls to, just lay it right next to it. This one I'll probably do on the outside too, because this is real close to the edge. So we've got that, and you can kind of notice it's sort of making this little woven pattern, where one is going under and one is going over. It's kind of nice, just a little bit of extra structure. This one I might do on the inside. I know this is probably upside down for you, but I think in this case you can get the idea of what's happening here. Alright, last one. So where you come out, I just kind of come out right here at this corner again, and I'll just work the corner first and then travel around. So I'm right-handed, so I'm just going to go and travel around to the right, which is really a counterclockwise direction. So the first thing you want to do is take your needle and you're going to go under both of the threads of that grid and come back up and around. Now here you have a couple choices here. You can either take your needle and go, you know, right to left into the next spot. I find that that adds just a little bit of bulk, so what I like to do is I'll just take a little bite out of the fabric adjacent to the mirror. So I'm not parallel, I'm not at an angle, I am straight up and down, and just pull it up just to the right of your thread, and then make sure that your thread isn't coming up to the left of that loop. Nothing is lying under. You're working basically just straight around. All right, and then you're going to go under those again, come back around, and then you're going to work your next stitch, which try to come right next to it to the right, if you can see that. Try again right here, and I'm kind of in the corner, so what I'm going to do, a little tricky because I'm trying not to catch the threads that are on the mirror. You're not catching any thread. The only thing you're catching with your needle is the fabric behind this mirror. Right, I'm going to come up and around again, and then I'm going to be working into the corner. So I'm on the other side of these two pieces of the grid thread here. I'm on the other side of that. Alright, and then we're going to come up in the diagonal, in the cross section. Work one more stitch, maybe two, depending on how big your mirror is. In this case it might be two, but you can see I've already got sort of a nice little line going of fabric that I can just pick up. And remember, you're not going all the way through the back, you're just hitting that top bit of fabric. You're probably not even picking too much batting up either. Just the fabric. And you may be wondering why I'm not going through the fabric and through the loops all at once. And I think I was trying to do that for a while, where I would come up here and then at the same time go through those fabrics. But what happens is the thread, it rubs against the sharp edge of the mirror, and then it starts to fray a little bit faster. So, you know, it's not that much more time consuming to, you know, take it in two separate steps, just to save a little bit on the thread. And incidentally, the thread I cut was probably 18 inches because you're going to get that fraying anyway. Okay, so now we're going to kind of come around the corner. And go through that diagonal again. So you're kind of getting a little bunchy up here, but that's okay. That makes it really pretty. And let's see, I'm on the other side now. So I'll turn my piece and go, and you're always going from under and over, right? Always to the right of your thread. Don't push your needle under that thread, or you're going to get a loop up here, and which is fine if you want to do that every time. You know, my motto in any sort of thread work is pick a way to do it and then stay consistent. But for me personally, I do like the smoothness of just popping those threads in one after the other and not doing any sort of blanket stitch or crossing of them. I like that smooth stitch line, so it kind of looks like a satin stitch. Alright, so you're just going to continue like that all the way around. Once you get here, you can just bare your threads. And that is it. It's really simple to do, and it adds a ton of bling. So a little goes a long way. And then of course you can, once your Shisha mirror is on there, you can go and do some beading, some more embroidery, and really just make a kind of a very cool design with the mirrors added in. Like in this case, the smaller one that I did, I've got this worked all the way around and then decided to just do some great little stitches on either side. And I'm kind of thinking that this would be sort of fun to do in some felted slippers that sort of look like they come from India. So I might have to work on some of those. The other thing that I wanted to talk to you guys about is putting some of these techniques together. So if you've been watching some of the Crosscraft videos, thank you. We've learned some basics of a few of my most favorite techniques. But what if we want to combine them into one big project? You know, personally, I don't like to do the same thing over and over again. So a lot of my quilts, if you're familiar with me, or my work, is they have a lot of different things going on, but they're all based around an idea or a theme. And that is, I like to call that Quilt as Inspired. It's the title of my book and the title of the way I like to work. So not only are you quilting as you go, you're actually designing as you go. So I've been alluding to a big project that I've been working on, and it is done and it is ready to share. It is called Zoo Nouveau, and here it is. This covers a lot of different techniques that I've shown you so far on this channel. Some of you might know that I volunteer for the quiltshow.com with Ricky Timms and Alex Anderson, and I'm also the one who does the show technique blocks that appear on the learning page of their website, which is www.thequiltshow.com. And I've shared with them my concept of designing and quilting a quilt as you go, and they've been really supportive of this idea and my method of working. So they asked me to design their summer sampler for this year, 2017, and I was so thrilled and so honored. So I came up with this quilt called Zoo Nouveau. And I mean, basically this is kind of how I like to work. So I came up with the Art Nouveau idea because I truly love that concept. I love the scrolling lines. I love the different colors and just the very artful attention to detail. And I thought, oh gosh, it would be so fun to do, like, you know, a peacock in the center and then surround it with animals. And then I came up with kind of this idea of an old-fashioned zoo where the animals are in their own little habitats, and it's a fun way to showcase sort of an Art Nouveau or maybe an abstract variation of some of these animals. So if you're interested in following along with us and making this quilt, go to thequiltshow.com and become a member. The materials list for this quilt will be placed on their website in May, so look for that. You'll get the emails and the newsletters and everything. And then we're going to give patterns and some video techniques and tips throughout the summer so you can work this along with us. And of course, I'll be there answering questions and helping you out and working it through. But I designed this quilt to be a teaching quilt. So if you look at the center part, which is where we'll start, which is the peacock, there's different applique techniques here. So there's turned, there's reverse, there's fusible. And we talk about applique placement and the times where you actually don't need to mark placement for that. So that'll be the first part of the quilt, and then we're going to go up to learning the piecing. So the butterfly blocks, you can see I did hand piecing, and then the little blocks that you can see down below are machine pieced, chain pieced. And then they've got the Shisha or beaded centers, which I had done a video previously on beaded beads, so you could see both of those techniques. And we'll show you how to quilt each of those and then join them together where you have a flawless seam, where you don't have the two layers of batting. So it creates a nice flat seam. And then on the sides here, we're doing some stenciling and some free motion quilting. And then we've thread painted these frogs and come up with, we'll also give you some other ideas on different things that you could place in your little stenciled habitat. And so that's really fun. Oh, let's see. So the fish down below is a technique that I learned from watching the Quilt Show her name is Rose Hughes, and they did a show on her technique that she created that that kind of makes this section look like stained glass. So I learned that from her, and then incorporated that based on one of my drawings into this quilt. So this is such a great opportunity to bust your stash, use some of the techniques that you already know, maybe learn some new techniques, and really build a quilt based on an idea. Might kind of give you a way of how I like to work, how Quilt as Inspired works, and these techniques come right off of the quilt show, and then also out of my book, Quilt as Inspired. So if you don't have a big stash, I will have some starter kits for this. Just look for this on my Etsy store, which the link I will provide here at the end of the video, and I'll also provide the link to the quilt show, so you can go over there, and if you haven't, or if you're not a member, if you're not familiar with that, what that is, definitely check that out. I mean, this is like truly the best deal in town. So anyway, I thank you so much for joining me on these Crosscraft Sunday videos, and I so hope that you can join us on the quilt show, work this quilt, and keep watching. I will continue to post occasional Crosscraft Sundays right here on this channel. And if you ever have any questions or need help, or want to see a technique that maybe you've never tried, hit me up. I'd be happy to do a video to show you, like tatting, or something that you just need to see something on. I definitely take requests. So I hope that that we can learn together and create together, and that's what it's all about. So just have fun, and we'll see you here, and we'll see you on thequiltshow.com. Thanks again so much for joining me.